Welcome to Armin Strom, and we're going to present you the Mini Repeater Resonance 1259 here at the manufacturer. Let's go! We see watches every day, and every watch is something different, but not that much. In this case, we have, for me, a new universe. And before delving deeper into the watch I already had in my hand at the window, I want to say a couple more words. First and foremost, we're talking about Armin Strom making around 400 watches a year, which is not much compared to the rest of the industry. It's an independent brand. I met them a few years ago. They're really down to earth, but they really know what they're doing, and they put so much passion, effort, and attention in what they do that you know why they make few watches and you know why they make them so well. And this to me is the epitome of what they've done so far. And to better explain the watch and to understand it myself and be able to explain it to you, I decided to come here to Biel at the HQ because I didn't just want to look at the watch for a little bit more time than Watches and Wonders 2026, but let's get to the watch because I have so much to show to you. First and foremost, three key concepts. The name is Mini Repeater Resonance 1259. Mini Repeater because it strikes the time. It tells you what time it is by the use of a sound, and we'll see how. Resonance because it features the patented resonance system that Armin Strom has presented in 2016, that nowadays is one of their most known features whatsoever, and it's something cool to look at, also very effective and quite efficient. And 1259 because 1259 is the absolute best time you can use your chiming watch, Mini Repeater, to fully enjoy it because it's the longest sound it can possibly make because it plays 12 strikes for the hours, the whole 3 different melodies, let's say, for the quarters, and 14 minutes. Well, if this was it, I would be still surprised, but it's really not it. Let's get down to the basics before passing the line to somebody special who visited the manufacturer instead of me. First, we can say it's kind of small watch compared to what's inside. We're talking about a titanium case because it makes the sound better. 42 millimeters is the size, which is remarkable for what's in it. But even more remarkable, we have 11.7 millimeters of thickness, possibly less than your daily beater diver watch, with 5 atmospheres of water resistance, which is quite a lot for a Mini Repeater if you think about it. We have a beautiful watch, basically fully open work. You can look at how the watch works both on the face of it, on the dial side, and on the movement side. And there's a lot going on, and as per usual, a lot of different finishing inside the watch, because Armin Strom is pretty well known for their finishings. If we start from the front, we have it 6, the whole aesthetic mechanism and functioning of the resonance, which, as I said, is a typical aspect of some of the watches of Armin Strom. At 12, we have the gongs going all around the dial, but even more importantly, the hammers. 4 gongs and 4 hammers because the watch plays a Westminster melody for the quarters. And of course, the Flying Governor just a little bit below the hammers, which is the organ that governs, literally, all the functioning of the Mini Repeater, keeping the strikes on time. If we then go on the movement side, we can see a lot of different finishing, including the Côte de Genève. Côte de Genève, what are Côte de Genève? They're basically a finishing that resembles indeed the waves of a lake. They come from the Lac Léman, that's why it's Genève, but here at Armin Strom we're in Biel, and I'm going to show you what they are and how we do that. They are a kind of finishing that, as you see, has a passage that in this case has a distance of 3 millimeters between each peak, and you have this machine that rotates with a diamond powder and creates 2 things. First, this kind of concave wave, and second, this beautiful finishing that leaves also a very shiny, pattern on the movement. The machine is very precise. You see it here, it's basically automatized, but there's always the impact of the man. And now I'm going to show you how it's made. Basically, you fix the piece on top of the machine, which is vacuum supported. You can hear it as well. Now you just put it in the right position. You start the machine. As you can see, the point is rotating because this will pass vertically and leave both this very nice raise and also the whole geometry of the finishing, which is this one. And now with the paddle, I just start it. And you can see the machine is very, very precise. Every passage is in a distance of 3 millimeters. Now we just stop the machine, unvacuum, and I would say we're good to go. Yes, we are. Back to the studio. Oh, thank you, Andrea. Well, now that we've seen the Côte de Genève, we can go on with the rest of the movement. We have 506 components, which is quite a lot. And a lot of rubies as well, but all the movement, it's 6.5 millimeters thick. I would say thin, actually, because it's really, really, really impressive what they put into it. We have said something, of course, about the resonance mechanism. There's a patent, there's a watch. The first time that was unveiled was 2016. But the most important concept, we don't have enough time to explain how it fully works, but to be really synthetic, we can say we have two independent regulated systems that are synchronized between each other, which has a very peculiar way of working. Resonance. The resonance is a very discussed system, but the most important thing to know is the fact that we have two separate balance wheels and almost two separate movements, because there's two barrels and everything, but they're connected and they synchronize in order to be more precise. The most impactful way of seeing this is assembling one. Of course, I'm not the one doing this because there's some things I'm allowed to do and some things I'm really not. And this is one of them. But what is impressive to see is the fact that it's very similar to assembling a normal escapement somehow, because you just assemble it kind of twice and kind of at the same time. But it's very nice to see how they synchronize, but not just with your own eyes, but with this machine that tells you the precision of the watch. They do assemble it and they do let it synchronize, and then to regulate it, as you can see on this plaquette, we have two specific tools that can stop one or the other, of course, even both of them, of the two escapements. And it's very interesting to see how they interact together. The most impactful thing is to look at the central part of the resonance system, because the more the central part of the spring oscillates and the more they are synchronized, the less it oscillates, the less synchronized they are. This is a patented system by Armin Strom, and it allows a much higher precision. But of course, if you look at the curve, there is a full interaction inside the movement. And of course, it's very visually pleasing, but it's not just about the pleasure of looking at your watch, it's about its precision and reliability. Now back to the studio. I hope you got everything we saw, because it's not that easy. And to continue, now that you're more familiar with this concept, we can look at the rest of the watch. Indeed, on the back, we see kind of a symmetry around the area of the lower side of the movement, and at the top we have quite a lot of different things happening, but I want to focus on what you see at 3 o'clock when you're on the movement side. You can see there is a tiny column wheel. That column wheel is the most intricate, interesting, and groundbreaking thing on this watch, and for me in 2026. The column wheel sets the chiming of your watch. You can pass by chiming the time displayed by the hands to chiming the almighty 1259 by just using the slider. Usually you push the slider all the way to the top to make the watch chime. Here you just push it down and it activates the column wheel. And now I want to make you listen to the beautiful sound of the watch. So let's go for it. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think it's a beautiful sound, honestly. It's really, really nice. But even more than that, the whole Westminster melody, and again, the fact that you can set the watch like that is really magnificent. There's so many other details because Armin Strom, I think nowadays, is well known for two aspects: the intricacy of the movement and how creative and innovative it is, and as we were saying, the whole finishing of the watch. We can see a lot of them, and one of the most interesting ones, for me at least, is the mirror polishing. You can see it on the hammers here, but we can also see it on the screws. Screw finishing, which is something you don't see that often. Let's first talk about black polish. Why do we call it black polish? There's nothing black about it, but the fact that when it reflects light, when you look at it reflecting the light, it's actually black. But it's also known as mirror polish because you can look at yourself in it, and it's the most precise and highest peak of a mirror finishing, of a soft and reflective finishing, which means it must not have defects, flaws, anything. It must be perfect. First, we do this because it's difficult, it's aesthetically very pleasing, and it shows how well we can do things here at Armin Strom. How do we do this? There is a tool, of course, in which you can secure the screws. Then you place the screws and you treat them on a zinc plate with a nice paste that helps you get the results. But most importantly, it's all about the hand of who creates it, because you have to move in a specific way. They do it in-house, as you can see behind me, and they do it for all the screws that you're seeing on the watch, because when it makes them perfect. Now, once again, back to the studio. Sì, mamma, sì, sì, dai, dai, ti chiamo dopo che stiamo tornando a un video. Sì, ciao, bacio. Italians and their moms. We could talk about finishings for a whole day here, and I could never get tired about how coherent this watch is with Armin Strom's DNA, about how cool it is to have such a wearable watch. But I first would love to make you discover something, because finishing a watch is one thing, having good finishing and everything is good, but if there's no soul, I don't think it's enough. And here at Armin Strom, they have soul. And one of the examples is how they make the beveling. Anglage, one of the most important finishings in watchmaking, which is how you treat the angle on the side of most of the parts in watchmaking. Here at Armin Strom is done with a 30 degrees inclination, but there's a lot of things to say about anglage. First, it started in order to catch humidity, but nowadays it has much more a embellishing function. Usually what you see around is this wood right here, gentian, which is a specific plant that has the power of really creating a mirror finishing on a metallic surface. But it also rounds a lot, of course. So, since here the philosophy is to have the straightest angle possible, they indeed prefer to use a file and then just add some finishing touches with the gentian. As you can see, both need to be treated. So on the file, there is a specific progression of different, let's say, sanding papers, but they're really, really super fine. And on the gentian, we have a paste to polish, of course, that goes up to 0.1 microns. And of course, they already get the pieces out of the CNC machine with a little bit of a 30-degree angle, but then they add all the finish touch, which is also added to get rid of any trace of the machining. But another crucial aspect is the fact that on the piece that needs to be finished, you have a coating of a specific color to see specifically where they're passing and what they're doing and not to damage anything else. So there are cases in which you also see previous finishings underneath. This time I'm not doing this because this is way more complicated and the pieces are way more finished than before, but still, back to the studio. All these gadgets are pretty amazing, and I think having such elements really tells you how the watch works. In fact, if you remember what we've seen, the more this oscillates vertically, the more synchronized they are. But back to the watch. I have it finally on my wrist, and I gotta be honest, once again, this watch to me represents many things. It represents how a small brand can compete in a worldwide ecosystem. It represents how good things can be done, even though somebody tells you it's impossible. And it represents progress, taste, and the soul of a company doing things because they believe in it and not just because they want to impress somebody else. Because I feel like this watch is really created by somebody who's enjoying what he's doing. To conclude and to sum it up, because we talked about every function of this watch, or at least the majority of them, we mentioned a thing or two about the new ARR25 caliber inspired by the 2019 previous chiming and resonating watch they launched and presented with a completely new development, I would say almost fully in-house, but for the vast majority it's in-house, and we've seen this with our own eyes. We can see a last bit of something that you are not able to see with your own eyes on this watch, but that if you're good enough, you can spot around every other watch around their collection, which is the perlage. Perlage. What is perlage? It is indeed a finishing made of finishings, we can say. You have a lot of different steps of this circular finishing, which are not random. There is a very specific order in them, but it's always a imperfect perfection because there's always the human touch behind it. So it originates in order to treat a surface when watches were not really dust-proof, because it attracted the dust, which didn't go inside the gears and stayed more in the surface. So it was a useful thing. It had a purpose. Nowadays it's more a decorative effect, but it's a very interesting one. The principle is that we have this machine here, which you can see works vertically with this point that is in abrasive rubber, which only can do 2-3 limited amount of circular finishing before being sharpened again with this abrasive paper here. It's a human process. The only true rule is that every circle must be aligned with the previous one. Another important part is you always have to have the next perle in front of you. Let's try. We can do better, but what's for sure, it takes a lot of time. Since we don't have it, we'll stick with what we did, which is okay. And now, back to the studio. Yeah, sorry. I was admiring the view from the manufacturer. And yes, there's no perlage on this watch, but I wanted to have the clip in the video because it also explains a lot about Armin Strom in general, because it's a fun place that takes work seriously but still remains down to earth, explorative. They made us do perlage, so they're very daring and very true to their identity. So to me, this watch doesn't just represent innovation and mechanical exception, which it does as well, but it represents what I would like to see way more often in the industry, and I'm proud and honored to be one of the people explaining you the watch and showing you this watch, even though we didn't go too technical in it, because I'm sure if you have a lot of interest, you will go explore their world on their website, Instagram account, and in other channels, because they have amazing explanations, amazing photos, and amazing technical sheets that are really, really incredible if you want to go deeper on how the watch works. Just to say, it was a 25 pieces limited edition, because now it's all sold out, and the price is also pretty competitive, I have to say, because they go for less than 500,000, that compared to the quality of conception, realization, finishing, all the conceptual aspects, the size and everything in this watch, it should even go for higher. It's a watch that is super wearable, it's legible, it's playful, it's interesting, it's high-end watchmaking, and to me, once again, this watch might not represent the whole 2026, but it represents how 2026 should have gone. And with that said, I want to thank the whole team of Armin Strom for having me here, you for watching the video. Please comment down below with your favorite feature about the watch and what you think about it. Of course, follow I Am Kaza on every social media, follow Armin Strom as well, and see you soon for a new video.